Crimson Trace now offers a complete line of electronic sights, ranging from a fixed magnification battle sight to reflex sights with the latest power management features. Purpose-built and versatile. Find yours at crimsontrace.com.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, it's a big win against Safe Act prosecution in New York. Plus, get ready to celebrate National Shooting Sports Month in August with the NSSF. Hear the latest news and more. And as always, call us at 866-TALK-GUN with your comments, questions, and range reports. And now, here's Tom.
Welcome again. Tom Gresham here. It is Gun Talk. We're going to be talking about guns for, well, pretty much forever. What the heck? We're talking about guns and shooting and the recreational aspect of guns. You know, things like, the Olympics. Yeah. Third largest area of competition in the Summer Olympics, shooting. Who knew? Well, nobody here because we don't get much coverage of it. Millions of people love competitive shooting, as well as hunting, of course, as well as just pure old recreational shooting, going out to the range and just shooting because it's fun. And then, of course, there's the number one reason that people own guns, always has been, which is self-protection, personal protection, taking care of yourself and your loved ones. We'll have a lot of successful stories about that today. Good people saving themselves and other people with their guns, with their legally owned guns, saving themselves, their families, police officers, and others. A lot of things going on, stories you don't hear very much because the mainstream media essentially ignores the successful use of guns for self-defense. Why would that be? It would be because that kind of works against the narrative of guns are bad. Guns are only used to hurt people. And if they were to say, look, people use guns literally thousands of times a day to protect themselves and others, thousands of times a day in America. Yes, let me say that one more time. Thousands of times a day, as supported by, the CDC, a number of university-level studies, and other folks who have done these kinds of studies. It just keeps the numbers coming up every time, between 1 and 3 million times a year. But if they told you that, then the public would start thinking, well, maybe there's a really good use for guns, and maybe we might want to have guns, and maybe we don't want to buy into this gun ban nonsense. We'll get into that in just a bit. We're also going to be giving away some guns. But, one of the things I love is when we have success stories. And we're getting more and more success stories. They tend to come primarily in the court system, although we'll be reporting on one that came out of the legislative side this week. But in the courts, we are winning a lot. And joining me right now to talk about that is Steve Filano. He is from 2AWNW. That would be the Second Amendment of Western New York. Hey, Steve, welcome.
And a happy Sunday to you, Tom. How are you doing today?
I am well. I was delighted to see this. First of all, before we tell people what happened here, because you're there on the ground, for those who don't live in New York and don't really follow this so much, we're talking about New York State, explain the New York SAFE Act and what it requires.
Sure. So the New York SAFE Act is one of many draconian imperial gun control edicts passed by the emperor we have in this state, Andrew Cuomo, and the compliant legislature that we have, which is entirely controlled by far-left autocratic Democrats at present. And in essence, what it requires is a range of restrictive registrations for AR-15s or what's been deemed assault weapons in the state, completely bans owning AR-15s in specific cosmetic configurations after a certain date. This is a little bit after 2013 when this all expired. Also restricts the ability to own and carry on your person any standard capacity magazines, rifle, or pistol in excess of 10 rounds. Requires that you recertify your pistol permit every 5 years. Any firearm that may have been passed down to you, and there's actually a case that's pending in central New York as I speak right now dealing with this, where an individual used the firearm passed down to him from his father to defend himself, and he's now facing a violent felony for not registering it to himself.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, is that these are not civil penalties where you're going to pay a fine if you're caught violating this, right?
That's right. They're violent felonies, which, Ben Wassel, the individual who won the case that you referenced at the beginning of this segment, he faced numerous ones from the state of New York. He was actually the first person prosecuted under this act. And I was going to say as well, in response to your question, I can't actually really say with full confidence what the SAFE Act means, because in the context of Ben's case, the judge who presided over the case initially actually told the jury he doesn't know what it means either. So he can't instruct them on what it means. Yeah, and that's one of the points that we made in the case.
So Ben Wassel just won this case, but exactly what happened? What was he charged with? What did he do that ran afoul of the law?
Sure. So mere days after the SAFE Act was passed in 2013, Mr. Wassel, who's a Marine Corps veteran, tours of duty in Iraq, encountered 2 IED explosions, which resulted in a TBI for him. When he came back stateside, he still had several, quote-unquote, what would be referred to in New York State as assault weapons, really just standard configuration AR-15s, that someone at a gun shop in Chautauqua County contacted him about purchasing, and come to find out that this was a sting set up by the New York State Police. And so when he proceeded to meet with this person and sell the rifles, things proceeded from there. The New York State Police came to his house. They raided his house, came on the premises, threw him down, arrested him in front of his wife and children. And, things proceeded from there. He was charged with a number of violent felonies as a result. And, the next 6 years of his life were basically hell for him.
Okay, but what happened this past week?
So we got, when I say we, it's a team effort, but primarily Jim Ostrowski, who's the attorney who spearheaded this whole thing and got the charges dismissed with prejudice. We went to Chautauqua County Court and did just what I said there. We got all of Ben's charges dismissed with prejudice, which what that means is the charges can never be brought against Ben again, because the way that this occurred is we appealed this all the way up to the New York State Supreme Court, which is one step below the highest court in the land. We secured a unanimous decision in that court that Ben was prosecuted by the New York State Attorney General, who did not have the jurisdiction to prosecute the case. So the New York State Supreme Court unanimously agreed with us on that and dismissed the case. The New York State Attorney General then appealed the case to the Court of Appeals. That's the highest court in the state. We believe that they did that to basically appeal to their progressive base and say, hey, look, we tried to do something about this to make the charges stick. But they knew all along that if the Court of Appeals heard this, we could bring up all the Second Amendment arguments that we made initially that the New York State Supreme Court just ignored, and we could then appeal the case to the U.S. Supreme Court. And they didn't want that to happen. So a couple weeks after they made the appeal, they withdrew it, and then subsequently agreed to concede defeat to us and told us, yes, we're going to agree to your motion to dismiss with prejudice. The agents of the Attorney General's office showed up in Chautauqua County Court on Monday for mere minutes and conceded defeat and left the building. So that's really how that all occurred. So Ben is free and clear now, thankfully, and now we move on to taking our brief here that made a range of compelling Second Amendment arguments that forced the state Supreme Court to dismiss this. And I've contacted literally dozens of attorneys all across the state that have active SAFE Act cases and provided them with this brief. I encourage every attorney who has a SAFE Act case or encounters one, bring these arguments up in court. They're winning arguments. That's why the New York State Supreme Court ran away from them, and this is how we will get the SAFE Act repealed.
One of the things I want to point out to people is, they really are. It's not just a case of they're coming for your guns. They're coming for you. They'll kick in your door. They will throw you on the ground. They will put a gun to the back of your neck in front of your children. They will arrest you. They will put you through hell for 6 years. And then, as what happened here, and also the exact same thing just happened in New York City, when it looks as though they are absolutely going to lose and they don't want to set a precedent that they cannot exactly do away with the Second Amendment, then they pull back, give up on that individual case to make sure they don't get the precedent. Sounds like that's what was going on here.
Yeah, you're referencing the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association's the NYC case, I believe there. Right, and I don't think that the court is going to play along with that, the Supreme Court that is, at the federal level. There are some other public interest issues tied to that case where I think you can make a very compelling case that the voluntary cessation that the city is progressing here does not totally address all the required wickets to have the case mooted, meaning just dismissed because there's no relief that can be provided. And furthermore, I mean, there are other cities across the U.S. that are similarly, autocratic, progressive controlled that may be interested in bringing some type of statute like this onto the books. The court needs to demonstrate to those cities, the leaders of those cities and the people who live in them, whether or not this would be constitutional. So, I could be surprised here by the court going a different way, but I think they're going to bat this one away and they're going to hear the case anyhow. But you're absolutely right.
Talking about the U.S. Supreme Court in this case. That's
correct, yes. But you're right. The autocrats in control of New York State are coming for you directly. They will come into your house. They will kick down your door. They will put a gun against the back of your head and take your guns away. We actually have announced another case as of yesterday that we're taking right off of the SAFE Act win that involves an Allegheny County sheriff and 2 county court judges in Allegheny County who have actually used the red flag law before it's even become active to take the lawful firearms away from a county judge. Or actually a local judge rather in Allegheny County. So unofficially, the red flag law in New York State that got passed not too long ago and doesn't become active until August of this year is already unofficially being used and abused by people in this state. So it's a very sad state of affairs. And, 2AWNY, we are aggressively fighting each and every imperial gun control edict that is active in this state. And we're very hopeful that Ninth Circuit case is going to give us the strict scrutiny standard required for us to dismantle the whole system, and we're very focused on doing that.
That is terrific. Steve, I really appreciate it. Let me just let people know, if they want to know more, the website is the number 2, AWNY, so Second Amendment, if you will, Western New York, the number 2, AWNY.com. If anybody wants more information on how to combat this, if you're involved in one of these cases, by all means, they can contact you, right, Steve?
That's absolutely correct, and especially if you're an attorney and you have a SAFE Act case, contact me. I'll call you directly. We'll have a conference. I'll take you through the brief, and we'll work with you to make sure that your case is a success and helps us repeal the SAFE Act.
Excellent. Steve Filano, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, got to scoot. 866-TALK-GUN. We are open lines. If you have a range report, you've been out doing some shooting, you're thinking about going out and doing some shooting, what have you been shooting? What have you been buying? And I'll have a range report or two of my own here. 866-TALK-GUN.
Marry a hot semi-automatic rifle with a state-of-the-art optic, and you get a double handful of awesome. The Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 2 optic-ready rifle in 5.56 NATO comes with a Picatinny rail gas block, topped with the Crimson Trace CTS 103 optic. You get both red and green dot reticles, the rifle you want, the optic you crave, at a price you can afford. Visit smith-wesson.com.
Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. The time is now to band together. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Want to win a gun? Hey, this is Ryan Gresham with Gun Talk. Visit guntalk.com/win to enter our latest giveaway. This month, enter to win one of 2 new guns from Sig Sauer, the P320 X5 Legion with 3 17-round magazines, or the P365 XL X Series with 2 12-round mags, both in 9mm. Enter now through August 2nd at guntalk.com/win. That's guntalk.com/win.
This is Jeff with Black Hills Ammunition. Our Honey Badger line now features a new 40 Smith & Wesson caliber loading. Gelatin testing shows that this round outperforms conventional hollow points, not only in terms of velocity, penetration and weight retention, but it also provides superior temporary cavities. The profile and solid copper construction assure flawless feeding. This is the latest technology in handgun performance. Black Hills Ammunition, the power of performance.
All right, back with you, 866-TALK-GUN, or just dial Tom Talk Gun. That'll get you in here. We're pretty much open lines, so if you have a question, a comment, or you just want to rant, hey, I'll give you the floor for a little while anyway. If you don't like guns at all, now's your chance. I will get out of your way. You can tell me, why do you not like guns? Why do you hate guns? It's always interesting to me. People say, well, I just hate guns. I don't know. I don't get it. It's like saying I hate hammers. It's just a tool. But hey, that's okay. Call me and tell me why. Explain to me what's going on. I will cut people off. I don't shout you down. We'll have a conversation, okay? I mean, you don't get to monologue forever, but we'll have the conversation. I'll ask questions. You can answer. You can ask me questions. Cool, that'll work. Again, that number 866-TALK-GUN. All right, we do get these range reports. Josh wrote in. I like this one. He says, my daughter has been having a hard time transitioning from rimfire to centerfire. She loves shooting rimfire 1022 and the Ruger Mark III, especially with red dot sights. Well, that's smart because I really have become a huge fan of the red dot sights, especially when you're teaching someone to shoot. It's not like front sight, rear sight, line it all up, target. Hey, put the dot on the target, press the trigger, good to go. Then he says, when I saw the PC carbine, we're talking about the Ruger PC carbine, okay? I thought this could be the perfect stepping stone. Size and controls almost perfectly matches up to the 1022 TD takedown she's been shooting. The magazine well conversion allowed the use of my extensive Glock magazine collection. We went to the range with 1,000 rounds of 9mm, and we left with 130 rounds. They went to the range with 1,000 rounds. They came back with 130 rounds and some very thumbs. He said, that little rifle is awesome. We have close to 2,000 rounds through it. 0 failures. Paired with a SIG Romeo 5, it's accurate and fast. I highly recommend this little rifle. Yeah, the Ruger PC, it's just amazing. Little PC carbine. And it'll take the Ruger mags, but also you can convert the mag well, and it'll take Glock mags. It's terrific. I mean, it really is. Let's see, line 3. Frank's with us out of Talkeetna, Alaska. Hello, Frank, you're on Gun Talk.
Yes, good morning to you from Alaska.
Howdy. Yes, sir.
I have an Attaboy award I would like to award to a company you may not know called McFadden Machine Company. Ever hear of them?
What do they make? No, what do they make?
They make a device called the Ultimate Clip Loader, and I use it to load my Mark IV Ruger magazines, particularly when I'm competing. Now, I've used a couple for, I'd say 3 years, and the plastic, being plastic, is starting to crack. I contacted a lady named Debbie Jameson at McFadden, and I explained the situation to her. She asked me for my mailing address, and believe it or not, 4 days later, I received 2 brand new Ultimate Loaders in the mail, no charge.
I knew you were going to say that. And the thing is, Frank, and you know the drill. You've heard me talk about it here, how often this happens, but it is absolutely appropriate and good for us to send out the attaboys. Now, you said it was McFadden is the name of it?
McFadden Machine Company. They are out of Pennsylvania.
That's terrific. I mean, people, the companies in this industry stand behind their stuff. People say, well, I was going to send it in. I was going to pay a repair bill or something on it. And they say, oh, no, we got that. We'll take care of that for you. It happens over and over again. Frank, thank you so much. That is a great range report and a great attaboy. We send that out to them. Let's see. Mel is in Grants Pass, Oregon on 2. Hey, Mel, tell me your range report here.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, I really grew up shooting out here. started in 1960 with my dad, and we had Remington 6 millimeters. We shot mule deer in eastern Oregon, and then now I got my grandsons. They're in high school, and like last week, they all stayed in my cabin. And we just go out in the woods. We take all my guns, and we just shoot them all till all the ammo's gone. It's mainly high-powered rifles and shotguns.
You know, that's a good day. When you could just go take a whole bunch of guns and a whole bunch of ammo, and look, you say, all right, everybody, we're going to shoot until, you guys get tired of it or until we run out of ammo. And what you find is that nobody ever gets tired of it.
No, they were, they're 16, 17 years old, and they're just, here, try this gun, try the Magnum. Some of them hadn't even shot a gun. My grandson,
really?
Yeah, of course, but their friends that were staying overnight, was their first time to shoot a rifle, and they enjoyed it.
So did you do anything special, because since you knew that they hadn't shot before? How did you get them started in a safe way?
Well, I'm very careful about that, and we just have there were 7 of us there, and we just had 2 people, or 1 or 2 shooting at one time, and we just went over the fact that the rifle's always downrange, and then when we were putting our targets back up, we laid all the rifles down. It was pretty simple. I didn't go into a lot of safety, but mainly aim it at anyone.
That's perfect. And that's perfect when you got a bunch of people say, look, we're only 1 or 2 people at a time are going to be shooting. Everybody can watch, and that way it's not confusing. Mel, way to go. That is really great. Not only taking your grandson out, but having him invite his friends out. I keep telling people, look, have your kids go out with you, but tell them, look, you could each bring 1 friend. That usually is a pretty good number. You could each bring 1 friend, and we go out to the range, and we're going to do some shooting, and we're just going to have some fun, and clear it with the parents of the friends, and then introduce them the way Mel does, in a safe way. There may be 7 of us here, but only 1 or 2 are going to shoot at a time. That's smart. I like that. What's your range report? How do you introduce people to shooting? Have you done that recently? 866-TALK-GUN.
Good morning, Mr. Gresham. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to host a radio show that will bring truth and common sense to the discussion of firearms rights in this country. Good luck, Tom, to you and your Tom Gresham's Gun Talk team.
All right, welcome back. This is Gun Talk. I'm Tom Gresham. The number here, if you'd like to join us, 866-TALK-GUN, or just dial Tom Talk Gun. Pretty much open lines if there's something you want to talk about, a gun you want to tell me about, a shooting experience, or maybe the gun you never should have let go. And we all have some of those, don't we? Holy cow. Well, let's see here. From the campaign front, 1 down. Eric Swalwell, California congressman, has dropped out of the race. I mean, he was struggling to try to hit 1%. He never did. His real claim to fame was he was the stalking horse, if you will, for the gun ban movement. He's the one that said, yeah, we're going to ban guns. We're going to come get your guns. And we don't really care. He's the one that, I was going to say implied, but he didn't really imply. He said, and if you refuse to comply, we'll nuke you. He said, you guys think you've got guns and you can resist. He says, we've got nukes. Really? You're going to nuke the American gun owners? Crazy man. So he used gun control as his primary platform. And what was interesting is that, he didn't amount to anything, and he never did. But what he did was, by him making all this noise over there, he allowed the other Democrat candidates to come forward a bit, to expose themselves, if you will, in their gun ban wishes, their gun ban plans, their confiscation schemes. Even Joe Biden, who is supposed to be moderate, remember, of course, he was the one who basically wrote the assault weapons ban for Bill Clinton. He's the one that was Barack Obama's point man on gun control. And now Joe Biden says you shouldn't be able to have a gun if it's not a smart gun. Now, We could put aside for the moment that there's no such thing as a smart gun. There's no operational smart gun, which means what he's really saying is you shouldn't be able to have a gun because the alternative doesn't exist, so you just don't get to have one. For those who think, well, smart gun, that sounds good. Okay, cool. Here's the deal. As soon as you can convince your local police department or any law enforcement agency to go strictly with smart guns for their officers and do a 1-year or 2-year test period with them, then we can have the conversation. They won't do that because they know it's not reliable. It's not ready for prime time. The technology does not yet exist. This is a life-saving device. Your firearm is a parachute. It's what will save you when everything else goes bad. When the plane is on fire and you have to jump out, you have your parachute. When everything has gone wrong and somebody's trying to kill you or your family or abduct your children, your firearm has to work. First time, every time. No magic rings, no secret codes, no RFID chips. Simple. Like a hammer. It's a life-saving device. That's why the police won't use it. That's why no one will even propose that police use them. Because they know it's ludicrous on the face of it. The only reason the whole idea comes up is because they say this is a way that we can go in and actually ban guns. Hey, range reports keep coming in. I got a question from a listener. Alexander says, hey, I'm faced with a problem. Almost no one teaches concealed carrying off body, such as in a pistol bag, although in very cold and very hot weather, there is no alternative. Well, we'll return to that in a minute. For self-defense, this is very important since the offender attack can happen in any weather. Unfortunately, it is almost never discussed. Are you familiar with the problem? Well, it's discussed quite a bit. I discuss it here quite a bit. Good schools, good gunfighting schools will teach off-body carry. And then they will tell you it's an exceedingly bad idea. Yes, I understand. Purses, women say, well, it's the only way I can carry is in a purse. Okay, we can go there. Now we're going to have to talk about how do you carry, where do you put it in your purse. It still needs to be in a holster, or at least in a designated pocket where nothing else is in there. And do you know how to shoot with the gun inside your holster, or inside your purse? Yeah, there's more to this than you think. With your hand on the gun inside the purse, you extend your gun hand out in front of you. Take your other hand, your support hand, and grab the strap and pull it in close so that way you have some place to put your other hand so you do not get it in front of the muzzle. Probably works best with a revolver. You can shoot. We've shot, if you've watched our shows, we've shot through purses a lot. It kind of blows them up. But with a revolver, you can keep shooting. With a semi-auto, it's probably going to jam after the first shot. You'll have to extract it and then do a tap rack and get it back in the game. But again, I'm going to offer, there are other ways to go. Certainly in cold weather, you can carry a pocket carry. You don't have to go off body at all. But yeah, find a good instructor and work your way through it. There are a lot of ways to do off body carry, but there are additional considerations. If it's in a bag or a purse, you cannot put it down. Sorry, no. You can't stick it, in the little basket on the shopping cart. You can't put it down next to your chair at the restaurant when you're eating. Your purse I'm talking about, because it has a loaded gun in it. Oh yeah, a lot of complications, a lot of things to consider. That's because this is serious stuff. This is life and death stuff. You are responsible for that firearm at all times, every moment. If you're not up to that responsibility, then don't carry a gun. People always say, well, you're the gun guy. You want everybody to carry a gun. No, I do not. Not even close. I've told a lot of people on the show here when they call in, oh, I'm sorry, you don't get to own a gun. People say, oh, I just want to buy a gun, And I said, well, let's talk about training. Oh, I'm not going to shoot it. I just want to have the gun. No. If you're not going to shoot it, if you're not going to take it seriously, if you're not going to be responsible, if you're not going to get the training, if you're not going to practice, I would really prefer you didn't have a gun. Not what you expected. 866-TALK-GUN. When we come back, we're going to get to your calls. Got a bunch of them, but we do have room for you if you'd like to join us right now. 866-TALK-GUN or Tom Talk Gun.
Tactical professionals who put their lives on the line every day depend on Surefire. Since 1979, Surefire has designed, machined, and assembled the finest flashlights and weapon-mounted lights right here in the U.S. From everyday carry flashlights with 1200 lumens and mil-spec hard anodized finishes to the most reliable weapon lights on the market for duty use or your home defense firearm, Surefire has what you need. American-built, American-strong. Visit surefire.com.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
I don't know. This does not give me a warm and fuzzy feeling. Vista Outdoors announces the sale of Savage firearms. Those great Savage rifles have been run very well for a long time. Savage brought us the whole concept of really accurate, fairly inexpensive rifles. Vista Outdoor Inc. announced today it has completed the sale of the legal entity operating its Savage Arms and Stevens Firearms brands to a financial buyer for a total purchase price of $170 million. They don't name who bought it. I don't see that here. Don't know what's going to happen here. I have seen a number of companies come in, Wall Street types, investment bankers, buy gun companies. And typically what they do is they come in and they look at it and go, wow, you guys are operating like it's the 1950s. We're going to clean this thing up. We're going to show you how to run a business. And then they just rape it. They cut prices. They cheapen things. I don't know what's going to happen with Savage. I hope that it does very well. But I'm concerned. I've seen it happen where they come in and go, yeah, look, we could save 20 cents on that part and 50 cents on that part. It all adds up, Yeah, it adds up because you just made your gun cheaper or less reliable. Not understanding that for your hunting rifle, that's the hunt of a lifetime. That depends upon that thing working. Well, we'll give you your money back. You get some money back guarantee. Great. I got a $10,000 elk hunt I've saved for 10 years. It's the last day of the hunt. It's the last half hour of the hunt. And I've got this 6x6 bull and the gun doesn't work. I'm sorry. Getting my $400 back on the rifle is not impressive. I have my fingers crossed. As I learn more about this, I will keep you posted. Sign of the times that this is what's happening. Big money gobbling up smaller money. Let's see here. Line 5. Michael is in New Mexico. Hello, Michael. You're on Gun Talk.
Hello, Tom. I was calling, started this whole thing out with law-abiding legal citizens that's never lost their gun rights, and I don't see how that's possible in the first place other than the amendment to the Constitution. But point being is, they could do that to an upstanding citizen that's never had any trouble with the law. What do they do to us? And how do we defend ourselves and our families? Yeah, I mean, our great-grandfather, say my great-great-grandfather went and robbed a train. He got desperate. He wasn't a train robber, but he got desperate. And someone got killed in the act. And then he ends up going to a U.S. territorial prison when they catch up to him. And they take all of his gear and his horse and everything. And he never gets his horse back, but when he gets out and serves his time, he paid his debt to society. They give him back his saddle and his spurs and his gun. Ate his horse for 6 months, along with everyone else, I'm sure. But
I think what I hear you saying is why do we lose our gun rights for life on the conviction of a felony? And I am completely with you. And I know not everybody agrees with me, but my attitude is, look, if you serve your time, you have paid your debt. No other debt is necessary. And a lifetime prohibition or a loss of your constitutional rights, I think, is way out of bounds. And let me just tell you, that is actually being challenged in court on a couple of places right now. And we'll see what happens. But I think that may be hard to justify. We'll see. We're chasing it, and there are court cases doing exactly that. But I'm right there with you. I just think that if you serve the time, you're done. And you shouldn't have a lifetime prohibition on exercising your Second Amendment rights. I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk about that, Michael. Thank you, sir. Speaking of, Michael's in New Mexico. Speaking of New Mexico, Walmart, the major retailer, will no longer sell guns in New Mexico. What the heck happened? Well, this is what happened. New Mexico passed the so-called universal background check, where if you basically ban private sale of guns, you can't sell a gun to your neighbor or to your brother unless you get the permission of the government. So you have to go do a background check. You have to go to a store, a gun store, somebody that has a federal firearms license, and they can run the FBI's background check. You can't even loan a gun to somebody. Walmart said, you know what? We don't sell semi-automatic rifles. We don't sell handguns. And we're not going to allow them in our store. Because if we're forced to do background checks for people who are selling one of those guns to somebody else, they have to bring it into the store. We're not going to do that. We're not really a gun store, is what they're really saying. So the way we're going to get around that is we're simply not going to sell guns. We're going to get rid of all the guns in all the Walmarts in New Mexico. Might fall under the category of unintended consequences, but who knows? Maybe it was part of the intended consequences. Also, it's interesting when you go and look, you'll find that almost every county in New Mexico has passed a regulation saying that we are a sanctuary county. We will not enforce this. The sheriffs have said, we will not enforce this law. This is unconstitutional. When you look at a map, almost every, I think it's like only 2 or 3 of the counties in New Mexico are not part of the sanctuary movement. And this is spreading. I was flying to Oregon last week. As I'm going over eastern Oregon, I'm looking down and going, sure, the people of John Day, Oregon, can't possibly be, a buy-in on what's going on. People in eastern Oregon and eastern Washington, these regulations. And so that's how we're getting these sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties. They're just saying, no, we're going to ignore it. We're not going to enforce it. It really is as simple as that. 866-TALK-GUN. Hey, coming up in just a few minutes, got a report of an ATM robbery. It went bad, but it's a really good lesson. It emphasizes one of the things I keep talking about being, it's a race to call 911 and what happened with that one. We'll also have good news coming out of Virginia from the gun control front and the surprise move by the legislature there. We'll cover that as well. And also, I would tell you what I'll do. Somebody's asking. We'll give you the update on the mess at the NRA. At least I'll give you my take on it. And I'm not sure anybody really knows exactly, but I'll give you my take on it in just a wee bit, okay? So you want to hang around for that. First, though, Fred is with us on line 1 out of Montana. Hello, Fred. Tell me this range report. This sounds cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really a lot of fun to make them, and it's a lot of fun to shoot them. Good snake
What
nuts,
is it?
and you take it's a 45 ACP shot shell for the 1911 or any 45 gun, 45 ACP gun.
Right.
I got the article out of April 1976 issue of the American Rifleman, and it's beautiful. They just feed just great. They hold 77% of the shot at 25 feet on a piece of paper.
And you're using, am I reading this right? You're using brass from a 308 rifle cartridge?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you get the dies from RCBS, 3-set die. And the first die, you run it in there and you take a hacksaw and you cut the 308 brass off to the correct length. And then you go down from there, sizing it and putting in your 410 wad and cutting it off and putting in your shot and sealing it off and crimping it.
And you end up putting a little crimp on it, I take it, over the top wad.
Yeah. You take a paper punch, the correct size for the brass, and then you put that in there, and then you crimp around that cardboard or some hard plastic, and then you put a dab of clear fingernail polish over the top of it, let it dry, and load up your magazine.
Now, will that feed through a 1911?
Yeah, beautifully. I've never had a jam. It's a nice heavy piece of brass too, coming from a 308.
Yeah, exactly. I'm loving it. Okay, 1976 April issue of American Rifleman. I don't know that I can find that one. I tell you what I'm going to get you to do. Can you make a copy of that and maybe email it to me or send it to me? I'd love to put that up so everybody can see it.
I need an address because I don't have a computer.
All right, tell you what you do. You keep holding on after the call here, and we're going to get you an address to send that to, okay?
Yes, sir.
That'll work really well. I appreciate that. A lot of those people are going, huh? Do what? Yeah, this is cool. And honestly, this is the kind of stuff that the American Rifleman used to do a lot of, this kind of reloading stuff and technical gear, and I love that. It was fun. I'm just thinking, April 76. Yeah, that was about 3 or 4 years before I got there. I got there in 79, I believe, at the NRA. I worked at the NRA from 79 to 82, back when it was at 1600 Rhode Island Avenue, just 6 blocks up from the White House and right there in the middle of D.C. And I was in the publications division at the American Hunter magazine. I was technical editor for a couple of years, and then they made me editor. But at a certain point, I said, I just don't think I can do D.C. That's just not my thing. So when we left there, we went to Anchorage, Alaska. That was about as far away from D.C. as I could get. And that suited me just fine. So there you go. All right. So when we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about some ways that you can get involved in helping others get involved in the shooting sports, things that you can do, things you can do for the Second Amendment. We have a lot of people who figured out, maybe the national groups aren't the way to go. Maybe we'll get involved in the local groups, the state groups. Well, good. I mean, you're not going to give up on all the national groups, but I am encouraged by how many people are understanding that we each individually have to do this. If you want to be a part of that discussion, 866-TALK-GUN will get you in here. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.